The 2024 deer gun application deadline is by midnight on June 5th. We're visiting with Wildlife Division Chief Casey Anderson to go over all the details. I'm Mike Anderson with the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Casey, how are deer licenses in 2024 compared to 2023?
Yeah, so in 2024 we've got 50,100. And in 2023, we had 53,400, so a 3,300 reduction. Most of that reduction was in the southeast part of the state.
Okay, why the reduction?
Yeah, so in the southeast, that winter of 2022-23, that was the worst hit area. The other thing you've got going on in the southeast is there isn't near the habitat down in that country. And so as we went into last fall, we had dropped the tags considerably. But as we got information back from hunters, landowners, and our observations just from field staff and things being out there, we had a pretty low hunter success rate down there. And so to encourage the herd to grow back, we reduced the tags even more down in the southeast part of the state.
Casey, the winter of 23-24, I mean, it was about as good as you could get for our deer population. And we still lowered the numbers.
Yeah, so flip the switch, we had a very easy winter. Deer should have come out of this winter in pretty good shape. However, if people remember, especially if they were down in the southeast or some other areas of the state, we didn't have very much fawning activity that happened because of that bad winter, which is going to increase fawning coming out of this winter. However, we won't have those year and a half old animals on the landscape that could be potentially harvested because we didn't have the fawning rate. And then with hunter success so low, to encourage those populations to fawn, bring those fawns recruit them into the population over next winter for the next season, we reduce those tags even more.
So we weren't really losing deer numbers since last summer. We just didn't gain any because there was no fawning.
Correct, yeah. We shouldn't have lost very many deer in this winter. We didn't have any EHD outbreaks last fall. And like I said, coming into last breeding season, they would have been in excellent body condition because we had good habitat last summer. And so yeah, we should have a pretty good fawning rate, and we shouldn't have lost many critters on the landscape because of winter.
Okay, let's talk white-tailed deer populations on a statewide level. Besides the southeast, we know the numbers went down a little bit down there, but how's the rest of the state?
So whitetail in the rest of the state are, on a slow rebound. Of course, rebound is always slower than the catastrophic die-offs of a bad winter. And so, in those areas, especially where we had EHD a few years ago, we're starting to see some increase. In general, habitat conditions were good last year, but like I said, we didn't have the fawning, even in some of those areas that had good habitat, just because of that bad winter. And so the rebounds are always slower. The more habitat we have in the landscape, the faster those rebounds can happen, but there's only so much a deer doe can bring into the population from year to year. And so yeah, we're pretty stable across the rest of the state as far as licenses go. Slight increases in some areas, but for the most part, white-tailed deer, compared to 2024, or 24 to 23, comparing those 2 years, we shouldn't have much change except for what was harvested on the landscape through hunting season last fall.
And your big game crew just finished the aerial mule deer surveys. How are mule deer populations doing?
Yeah, so they just finished up those mule deer aerial surveys. The population is doing well. We had a slight increase, but we're typically pretty conservative on mule deer. But so we didn't increase the tags out there just because we're trying to get that population, again, that opportunity to have a good fawning season and bring that population up a little bit faster.
Casey, how do you guys come up with deer licenses available for the season?
So there's multiple ways that we come up with how we handle setting deer licenses. Obviously, if we have the ability to do winter aerial surveys, that's one of the best ways. And that's coupled with numerous other things. And so we do a hunter harvest survey every year, and we follow that trend. All of our information, even our winter aerial counts, we follow a trend line to tell us which direction the population's going, maybe at some level what percentage increase there is if we can do those aerial surveys. But this year, of course, we didn't have snow on the landscape, and to count white-tailed deer especially, we need pretty flat 12 inches of snow or better on the landscape to do decent aerial counts. And so we relied a lot on what we were hearing from hunters through our harvest surveys, just from our field staff talking to them, what our field staff was seeing, what landowners were seeing across the state, to really come up with kind of where those license numbers should be set.
And the Game and Fish Department manages the deer population by units.
Correct. So our deer hunting units are what we base our biology on as we look across the state. And so that's why we have the ability to change license numbers within a certain unit. And so, yeah, that is why you'll see some of those in the southeast with a pretty low license allocation or a drop in licenses, because the hunter success rate and what hunters and landowners and our staff were kind of telling us what was going on out there.
Casey, when is the deer application deadline, and how can a person apply?
Yeah, so the deer application deadline is June 5th at midnight. I would encourage folks to go on before June 5th at 11:30, because if you run into an issue, we don't have people here a lot of times when it gets that late at night to help you wade through some of those issues. But to apply, you can go online to our website and apply through there, or you can apply through our mobile app.
Okay, can hunters do anything to better their odds of getting drawn?
So I think if you wanted to better your odds of getting drawn, obviously look across the units. We have a few units that sometimes have leftover licenses and things like that. If your heart's set on a specific type of deer in a specific unit, you're probably restricting yourself in your ability to get drawn.
A lot of great information, Casey. Thank you.